Talk about a fall from grace, eh? Just a few years ago, we were talking about this guy as the savior of the franchise. Okay, maybe that's a bit hyperbole, but a guy that took over the goaltending job in St. Louis, willed a team that was at the bottom of the standings to a Stanley Cup, and won in the process. He was supposed to be part of this new wave. He was the savior for a little bit, and he was the golden goose. Let's talk today about a goaltender who, honestly, statistically, has taken such a steep fall from grace that it's not even funny. Okay, it's kind of funny, considering how this guy has navigated the NHL landscape the past few years, with him tossing water bottles, with him lashing out emotionally, getting angry at opponents, and threatening them on the ice. It's been pretty hilarious, not gonna lie. Let's talk today about St. Louis Blues goaltender Jordan Binnington. And while I feel that I may be kind of taking the piss out of this situation, I get that some St. Louis Blues fans might not like it that I'm talking about your goalie this way. The fact is, I've seen so many of y'all go out there and say similar things that, hey, this guy's got to dial it back. He's got to stop. He's got to stop clowning around on the ice. And when it comes to the way Jordan Binnington has performed statistically, there are some very good numbers that back up that idea. So, let's go over the profile here. Jordan Binnington is 30 years old, on a contract till the end of 2027, wherein he's making $6 million AAV. Why is he making this amount of money? Well, because in the 2018-19 season, he finally broke out as a full-time NHL goalie, was pretty much brought onto the team in the midst of the Blues being in the last place spot of the entire NHL, and he went on a tear. .927 save percentage, 32 games played, 189 goals against. He had a .914 save percentage in the playoffs, had a .246 goals against in 26 games, as the Blues defeated the Bruins in 7 games to win the Stanley Cup. You also had yourselves the Calder, which was awarded that year. Binnington was technically a rookie, and he finished second behind Elias Pettersson for the award. He said himself that he felt that he should have won the Calder, which, I mean, dude, talk about humility nowadays, eh? I mean, to his credit, Elias Pettersson went out there and actually said, hey, but Binnington won the cup, so at the end of the day, he's got the ultimate prize. But still, I feel like a lot of Canucks fans were sort of salty towards Jordan Binnington after those comments made about Elias Pettersson, sort of, in a way, invalidating what Petey did in Petey's rookie year. But I digress. Jordan Binnington was a very good goaltender in his technical rookie season in the NHL, and he continued being good the next few years. .912 save percentage in 50 gosh darn games played the next season, .910 save percentage in half the year in 2020-2021. But as the years went on for Binnington, despite a pretty good showcase in the 2022 playoffs, .949 save percentage and a .172 goals against in a split effort between Husso and Binnington, unfortunately the Blues completely blew it against the Avalanche, and that's where you had all of the moments, Binnington swiping at guys, Nazem Kadri chucking water bottles in the locker room, stuff like that. Or not the locker room, but the tunnel, outside the locker rooms. And this is sort of where we started to see more of Jordan Binnington do what Jordan Binnington has been doing. Being a pest, and not in a good way. Eventually, after us making a bunch of videos about it, Binnington went out there in 22-23 and had a season for the ages. 61 games played, a .331 goals against average, and an .894 save percentage. The worst numbers he has ever put up in the NHL over a full season's worth of time. And we have ourselves a few articles going out there and talking about the performance from the $6 million goalie. We're heading over onto the Hockey Writers because back in May, you had Mike Meyer publish this article, Blues 22-23 Report Cards, Jordan Binnington. The St. Louis Blues 22-23 season was a shocking disappointment for fans and management alike, leading to the team becoming sellers at the deadline and ultimately finishing in a draft lottery position outside the playoffs. So, who bears the blames for the team's failings, and who succeeded despite the team's struggles? That's what Mike Meyer goes out there and tries to identify in his Blues 23 Report Card series. Quite possibly the most polarizing player in the NHL, Blues goalie Jordan Binnington has been trending in the wrong direction after his historic Stanley Cup winning season. Not only has he been inconsistent throughout the past few years, but his inconsistency has begun costing the team in many ways. The article brings up both the pros and cons of Binnington's game, not really putting too much of an emphasis on Binnington lashing out on guys. I mean, there's the Ryan Hartman clip linked in the body of the article. Binnington loses it on Hartman and chaos ensues. But the article does talk about how what went right for Binnington was that he did keep the team in games in some capacity. The fact that an argument could be made that the goaltender was the team's MVP in the first half of the season seems pretty impossible, but that is indeed how it went. With the record and poor performance that he and his teammates had, that final .894 save percentage for his 22-23 season seemed fortunate given the state of the performances in front of him throughout the 61 games he had played in. However, the article does go over the inconsistencies out of Binnington immediately after. How not only was the team in front of him poor defensively, but Binnington was also not stopping shots that he needed to in order to give the team a fighting chance. That being said, his defense and teammates in front of him also did not help provide Binnington any additional defensive support, often leaving him on an island to face an onslaught of attacks on a nightly basis. The inconsistency in play from his teammates, losing streaks, and downward spiral ultimately led to another round of outbursts from the goalie this season, one of which nearly led to a fight with Marc-Andre Fleury. There should be no question that Binnington did what he could to do his job to the best of his ability. However, his unpredictable and erratic style of play and behavior has left many wondering if he'll ever reclaim his status as a top goalie in the NHL. There are some stats that I wanted to look at here in this article too. He led the NHL with the most penalty minutes by a goalie this season with 29. He had the most played minutes of his career with 3,516, and he finished the season with a minus 19.12 goals saved above average, which is a terrible stat. He let in 19.12 goals that should not have been let in, and it's so many to the point that he actually has a negative rating with this stat. This is why the final grade given to Binnington by Mike Meyer on the Hockey Writers is a D. This is the first season in his career that Binnington saw an increase in his quality start percentage. Throughout his career, he has seen a decrease from a Stanley Cup winning season to where things had gone since then. And to make things worse, Binnington also saw his worst goals saved above expected this past year at an alarming minus 19.2, the seventh lowest amongst all goalies last year. And so, realistically, when talking about Binnington's statistical decline from the years past to now, things cannot be looking more worse. I mean, he is one of the worst goalies in the NHL for goals saved above average. He had played a ton of minutes, and sure, while he was keeping his team in it in some capacity, the team in front of him was just so bad that he faced so much extra compared to previous years. It led to a drastic tank in stats, putting him amongst one of the worst in the league, and his temper was not really able to hold itself back either. He was going out there, you could say he's trying to get under the opponent's skin, but realistically, when you watch the outbursts, how Binnington would go after guys and there were these physical altercations, it looked more so like the entire game of hockey was under his skin instead, rather than it being the other way around. It wasn't, oh, Binnington's getting under Fleury's skin. No, it looked like the entire Minnesota Wild were under Binnington's skin. And you almost had yourselves a true heel versus face matchup in Fleury versus Binnington as a result. It just didn't end up going down because the referee stopped it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the decline of Jordan Binnington here? We had already made a video talking about Jacob Markstrom and that guy's struggles, but this one, yeah, you could debate it's even worse. The fact that he's got this reputation doesn't make it any better, but at the end of the day, the Hockey Writers went out there and gave him a D grade for the past season. Do you think that's accurate? Do you think it's being too harsh? Do you think he's going to bounce back next season? He's making $6 million a year, so we better bounce back for the sake of the St. Louis Blues. But do you think it's actually going to happen? Do you think he's going to reform? He's been declining every single year statistically. Do you think that trend continues in 23-24? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.